So that goes to a good question. Startup costs, and that's something you got to consider. If you're going to start up and hire someone, that's part of your, initial capex, your capital expenditure. For us, our startup cost was about just over $4,000. That was all in. The biggest one is, especially where we are, is getting your nuance, so getting your business search done, registering your company, business licensing. That was about $800 where we are. After that, the next biggest expenditure was probably lights at about 1,000, and then worked our way backwards from there. But $4,000, that was like all in. And I think that's the biggest thing we so often forget when we get going business is you got to track every cent. Like, do I have to buy a printer? Do I have to buy ink? Do I got a paper? Those little $10 charges add up a lot, right? And I come from a business where my startup cost usually was like, $1 million, right? So I'm like, ooh, 40,000.
Yeah,
I'm like, with the fleet, with the vehicles, like, oh, that's change tires, right? But it's funny because but that's why I love this business model is you can get this, like our average, like in our property before we moved out, our margin, our EBITDA was 75%. So before labor, ours was 75% margin. It's not a lot of businesses you run a 70 to 80% margin prior to labor. I'm coming from a business where if we can, after labor, we can break 10%, super, right? So this was on a business side, was really attractive in that regard. Even our commercial property now, we're still at 60% margin before labor. So for me, that's still a great business model. But it's all stemmed from keeping it simple. I didn't need to spend $50,000 in lights, get $10 trays. My trays cost me $2. Yeah, they break, they crack, whatever, they're ghetto. But you know what? I've replaced maybe 100 in 3 years, right? But I also and I have 3,000 on site. So that saved me about $15,000, right? So everything I look at is, do I want to be here long-term, or do I want to be like a really pretty hobby farmer, have a bunch of beautiful trays, but yet I'm not making any money because I'm still in debt, right? Absolutely. Increase your trays later, do that. But again, that's personal goals. You got to take what you want within it. But I think the biggest challenge of business is people just start out spending way too much money and don't have a plan to get it back fast enough. And then they go to credit card debt and just trickles down from there, right? We assume debt just needs to be part of business. I don't think it does. I think there's a way to get out of it very quickly if you come from that perspective. So startup, I think, but a good bootstrap farm, honestly, probably 1,500 or 2,000. I think we've done very effectively. That would generate around, I would say 3,000 to 4,000 a month in revenue if you were able to do $2,000. Because like one shelf, running 20 trays off of one shelving unit is around 1,500 a month in revenue. So if you get two, you're at 3,000. So 2 shelves, all in, that's 40 trays. That's probably 100 trays all day. But 2 shelves, you probably have 20 lights, a little bit of seed, soil, you're good to go. That's a $50,000 per year revenue. It's pretty good business, right? For $2,000 initial startup cost.